Welcome to the official podcast where the bombs get thrown. I'm your host, Maeshaila and I introduce to you the Mike Bomb Podcast.
This is my night, this is my pain, this is my life, this is what I was born to do. I was born to do. Every new day, every new night, every new stage, every new fight. This is what I was born to do. I was born to do. Fall to my knees every night and I pray, asking Lord, let him hear. I got something to say. There's a fear out there and it's coming your way. Don't let it stop you from living for what you were made. It's not a dream, it's a destiny.
All right, welcome to the Mike Bomb Podcast, episode number 3, with your host, Maeshaila, your co-host, Kaila Lewis, and unfortunately, Stacy couldn't join us for this episode, so it's just me and Kayla.
We got this.
Yeah, we definitely got this, but man, I miss Stace already.
Oh, well, it's okay. We just gotta go hard with her next week. It's fine.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh my God. It's just she just brings another vibe. But you know what? Like you said, we got this. We can definitely do this. This episode is gonna be definitely shorter than the previous one, which by the way was unintentional. It was just so much to cover, so much to talk about. And personally just wanted to make up with everyone for the week that we took off. Like I said, I take all faults to that. That was my doing. But yeah, we're back at it. Yep. Like, oh God, let's not even get started on that. But yeah, so kicking off this episode, we're talking about pretty much giving you a recap of NFL Week 10, because let's just say, just like every other week, every other 9 weeks, it's just been a crazy week in football. I mean, it's just, I don't even know where to start. Like, the games this past week, I don't know, should we start with the Bills and the Vikings game? Should we start with the freaking Chargers and the 49ers game? The Rams and the Cardinals game, which within injury stole a lot of headlines around the league, with Cooper Kupp hurt, Kyler Murray hurt, Matthew Stafford hurt with a concussion, Kyler Murray, I believe, a hamstring, Cooper Kupp now on IR with an ankle injury.
Everybody.
It's just surprising, because I'm like, I was looking at the review and I'm like, neither Kyler Murray,
Shaquille Leonard is out. He had back surgery yesterday. We're doing great. It's a great week for football.
I mean, the good news is your Colts did beat the Raiders, though, I believe, in Las Vegas. I believe that game was. So that's good news.
We're out here trying.
As soon as you said you was going to throw in the towel, they won you a game. So there you have it.
Hey, this upcoming week is going to be a tougher week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You guys got Philadelphia.
Yep. Off a loss. Off their first loss of the season.
Good luck with that. Listen, I definitely know if a beatdown was to come, I know how it feels. I still got salt in my greens for that. That was just, oh my God, I don't even want to really remind you of that, because my team won this week against the Saints. And I wish Stace was here to remind her about that. Because this week actually is an interesting week, though. But we're gonna get more into that down the road. We actually got to finish recapping this, though. Speaking of the Eagles, they're not undefeated anymore. And they lost to the Washington Commanders 32-21 at home on Monday Night Football in Philly. I don't even know what to say about that. I did not see that coming. I really thought the Eagles I said the Eagles was going to sweep the Commanders, but the Commanders obviously has other plans and other plans, and they just went into Philly and did what at least 9 other teams or 8 other teams could not do, which is neutralize Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, and others. But there was a lot of controversy within that game, because they felt like it should have been a face mask called when, one of the guys from the Commanders grabbed the Eagles tight end's face mask, and it seemed like he was going for his eye and he fumbled the ball they felt he should have been ejected. Did you watch? You watched that game, right?
I watched a little bit of it, but I mean, I think they mentioned it was either at the end of the first or the end of the second quarter, they mentioned that the Commanders had the ball for 25 minutes. You're keeping Jalen Hurts off the field. Well, I'm assuming that actually has to be the whole half, but 25
Nearly.
minutes, no Jalen Hurts on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact you have him off the field that long, that penalty call, it didn't help, but them also being off the field that long
Definitely. It's just,
played a big role.
yeah, it did. It did. I think I'm surprised the Commanders defense was able to do that, especially without Chase Young. And surprisingly, he's supposed to be returning this week when I actually forgot who they faced. That's weird. But
They play the Texans. So I
oh,
mean, he'll still do Chase things, but I mean, against an opponent that's only won one game.
no, I can't even laugh, man. I'm not even laughing. My team is 3-6 right now. I can't even laugh right now. But it's just the way you said it makes me want to laugh. But still.
Hey, I mean, look, they're one ties how the Colts started out their season, so I don't have much wiggle room to talk about the Texans other than it seems like we were able to somewhat bounce back from that weird way to start out the season. But at the same time, 1-7-1 and with Chase Young coming back.
Yeah, it's hard. That Commanders defense could definitely be problematic with the addition of him returning. But speaking of returns, this week TJ Watt returned, and let's just say against the Saints, he made a real statement. I was actually excited but nervous for that game because I'm just like how I am this week. I'm 50-50, but I'm pulling towards more the positive side, just like I was against the Saints game, where I feel like the Steelers can pull it off again. And that's where I'm sticking, but that's week 11. This is week 10. So let's just allow me to stay on topic here. But Jeff Saturday did win his debut as the Colts, head coach. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, let me start off by saying this. We still haven't had our bye week yet. And I mean, we still got plenty of time. And I mean, like we mentioned, we have the Eagles next, and they're coming off their first loss of the season. So they're gonna have a bad taste in their mouth. And not that I feel like Darius did a great job prior to him being out for his back surgery, but I mean also with him going out multiple weeks, it's not that much of a impact. And you can definitely see that the Colts have struggled on the defensive end without his leadership on the field. So I mean that's going to be rough on the defensive end of the ball, and us not having our life together at quarterback hasn't helped our situation either. So I'm not feeling too confident. I mean, granted, I know this is not Jeff's fault. He was brought into this mess that is my lovely Colts, but I'm interested to see what he can pull off next week, and if he can actually, help will the team to at least keep the game close. But I mean, I applaud him for going 1-0 in his first week. But like I said, there's plenty of football left to play. And we've got some major pieces that we need to figure out still. And I'm not quite sure if he's the one to solve it, which I mean, he's admitted that,
So,
if it's not him, then he'll admit that it's not him.
all right. Well, okay. So here's the thing. You said that there's still a lot of football left, but a lot of pieces that you need to solve. Are you still throwing in the towel for your Colts season, or are you starting to backpedal a little with some hope?
There's the hope is still at the same level it was at last week. Like I said, with this Eagles team coming off of a loss and not having their offense on the field, that much this past week. I'm sure they're going to take advantage of those holes in the Colts defense and the lack of leadership from a missing Darius Leonard. There, I'm sure Jalen and I'm sure Nick Sirianni would love to beat his former team.
Well, you guys did have Jonathan Taylor back this week, and you're definitely getting him back this week against Philadelphia. So you had him back last week, correct me, and then he made his epic return. I think this is actually a perfect time for him to return because clearly his presence has been missed on the offense, and I think he's personally the heart and the soul of your offense because they're starting to become slowly but surely a run-heavy team. But you said a couple of pieces. I'll just recommend getting another running back behind him so that you won't
we did
and overwork him.
We did in Nyheim Hines. That was our number 2 guy. We switched them out quite often, but with him going out with that concussion on Thursday night against the Broncos, we had our backup in, I believe the young man's last name is Jackson, but he was out last week. So, I mean, the struggle of, finding a suitable backup. But like I said, I had strong hopes in Nyheim Hines. I've seen what he can do in person from, working with them. So it's just, again, trying to see how they can fill that spot and fill it in well.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, you would know more than I would because obviously that's your team. But that's just my recommendations. I don't really feel comfortable with people or organizations or teams wanting to just use only one back because unfortunately running backs just don't last long in the NFL, especially when they're the ones doing all the carrying, all the loading and making all the plays and things like that, and just are the only pretty much like the sole ones making everything happen. Every Batman needs their Robin. So
agreed. But I mean, I definitely agree with, like I said, our offensive linemen, they're struggling right now. So, having JT run as much as he does and not having a strong offensive line, that second back is definitely needed.
Yeah, definitely. But moving forward, speaking of wins and losses this week, the Green Bay Packers bounced back from a 5-game losing streak at home in Lambeau Field when they beat Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys and improved to, I believe, now a 4-6 record, if I'm not mistaken. They're now 4-6. And yeah, we ready to talk about it. It was 31-28. They beat the Cowboys in overtime. I don't really know how to feel about that game because I could say that I didn't see it coming or I saw it coming, but it's like I was 50-50 on that game because it's Aaron Rodgers. You really can't write him off. Cowboys coming in hot. Obviously, their defense is problematic for opposing offenses to be more exact. I felt like Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott was going to be a little too much for the Packers defense to handle, along with CeeDee Lamb and them guys. It's just Green Bay figured them out, and Aaron Rodgers just did what Aaron Rodgers does best, or what he's known for doing, which is making something out of nothing. And that's exactly what he did. He pulled the tricks out his hat and led them down there. And I believe it was a field goal that won them that game. If I'm not mistaken, it was a field goal that won them the game.
28-yard field goal. My bad. I'm sorry. I'm reading the stats and good is in all caps.
Right. And it's like, I don't really know. I don't have no words for that one. Obviously, if you're a Cowboys fan, you could definitely thank Stephen A for jinxing you guys, saying that the Cowboys on First Take was going to whoop the Green Bay Packers, and they're gonna tease you about it right afterwards and all over First Take this week. I mean that Stephen A is something else. It's
all
like
the time. All the time.
It's like people don't even care for the Cowboys to lose just because they hate the Cowboys. They care for the Cowboys to lose just to see what Stephen A says and does next. And that's really what it is. It's like this guy just, I don't know. I don't know.
Weekly shenanigans. That's what is expected.
honestly. But with a certain team, I can feel the same type of way, but we not even gonna get started on that. If Stacey was here, we would have definitely got started. She would have found the way to bring it up. Trust me, like she did the last time. But yeah, it's just, in your opinion, what does this mean for both teams? Like, what does this mean for the Packers, who's clearly having hope on their season and their playoff hopes? And then for the Cowboys, what does this mean for them, as they're obviously still in the conversation for the division, even with the Giants right behind them? Obviously, they own the tiebreaker because they beat the Giants. I believe it was week 3 in MetLife, and then obviously they did lose to the Eagles, so the Eagles had the tiebreaker over them. But the Eagles losing did open up a little for the Cowboys, but the Cowboys losing did not help them. So what does this mean for both teams when it comes to the playoffs?
Oh, I mean, I think it's like you said, you can't write Aaron Rodgers off because it is Aaron Rodgers. So I mean, I feel like there's still a fighting chance for them. I mean, I don't think he's just gonna continue to go out for the rest of the season like he is.
Yeah.
But also in that same breath, I don't ever really hold the Cowboys to that high of a standard. But I mean, I don't believe Zeke played this week, so or this past week.
So he missed the game. Okay, that explains why the running game was a little limited. All right.
Right. So that makes me kind of nervous as well, not having him in there. But like I said, you can't necessarily write Aaron off quite yet.
Yeah. So if you are a Green Bay Packers fan, are you ready to throw in the towel still, or are you ready to hold out hope?
You gotta hold on to it. You gotta hold on to it.
Okay, because of Aaron Rodgers. Got it. And if you're the Dallas Cowboys, what does this loss mean for you, even with Philly losing Monday?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
So what does this loss mean for you if you're the Dallas Cowboys, even with Philly losing Monday? Because is this also a conference loss?
I mean, again, as a Dallas fan, I mean, if you are one, I mean, you still have to look at it from the standpoint of this is just loss 1 for the Eagles, just the first one. And like I said, I would love to love on my Colts and feel confident in how they're gonna do this upcoming week, but
you don't see it.
I don't see it. I feel like the Cowboys are definitely gonna have to do a lot to make me change my mind.
Yeah, that's valid. But so if you're the Cowboys coming into this week, what would your mentality be after week 10 loss to the Green Bay Packers?
Regroup. And I mean, I don't know how many other teams say this to their fan base, but I know at least from, as a Colts fan, and you're every week or every game, you're going 1-0. That's the mentality that you have to go with. So, I mean, I feel like that's where the Cowboys need to be for the rest of the season, just taking it one game at a time and repeating that 1-0 mentality.
Valid. That's fair. Yeah, I actually agree with you because it's like you can't write off Aaron Rodgers no matter how the season looks or doesn't look, because the wild card for both conferences is, to me, still open. It's whoever wants it more. That's really what it's going to come down to. And then you have the Cowboys, who I feel slowly but surely is punching their way in the postseason. The division is obviously still up in the air. Thank God they got game 2 in Dallas against Philly. So they got the hard part out the way, even though it wasn't the result that, if you're a Cowboy fan, you will want. But it is the result that you need, because you don't want to go to Philly for game 2. You want game 2 to be home in Dallas, especially now with the Eagles losing to the Commanders, which is a divisional loss. So right there, everyone at least owns one divisional loss. You know, 1 to 2.
And Lincoln Financial is outside, correct?
Yeah, Lincoln Financial Field is the Eagle Stadium.
And I don't know about everywhere else, but it's kind of chilly here in North Carolina. I believe
It's
it only got
cold.
up to 40, and then Indiana, we had a little bit of snow a couple of days ago, so
Yeah.
that's also something you have to take into account for
Yes,
Dallas. I mean, it
exactly.
gets
So
cold, but
yeah, so you
that East
definitely
Coast,
want it in Dallas. You want it in your weather for game 2.
exactly.
So moving forward though, the LA Rams, they fell to 3-6 on the season. The defending Super Bowl champions lost another divisional game at home after getting swept by the Niners, losing to the Bucks, and here they are falling to the Arizona Cardinals at home.
Yeah,
It's
that's a rough
no
one.
words. I don't have any words. I don't even know where to begin with the Rams. It's just, I did not expect this from them this year. I actually expected them to be a playoff contending team. They could probably still turn that around, but if Stacey was here, oh my God, we both know what she would be saying right now, especially with Cooper Kupp. Yeah, especially with Cooper Kupp going on IR, that definitely makes the road back to the Super Bowl, definitely to the playoffs, more difficult with the Niners standing in your way. The Seahawks surprisingly on top of your division, even with losing to the Bucks in Germany this past Saturday. Or
They
correct me.
can go ahead and meet the Colts at the furniture store and grab their couch for the playoffs.
Oh, so you calling it quits?
They can go ahead and join us.
All
It's
right.
okay.
So, oh wow,
We have
you know
good
what?
snacks. We've got good snacks.
All right. Well, that would be, that actually would be a good topic for next week. Is who should we just write off already? But yeah, the Rams, it's not looking too good for them right now. I don't even know what's going on. I don't know whether it is the Super Bowl hangover or it's just more pieces being added where communication is obviously needed. And this is just, to me, un-Sean McVay like. I thought I would never see a Sean McVay team 3-6. I will always thought that under him, he will find something and bring something to the table that will prevent his team from being in this type of deficit. But this year is just not looking too good for them. And I understand that there's a lot of 3-6 teams right now in the league, my Steelers being one of them, but here's lies the difference. The Rams slowly but surely are getting worse, and their schedule's only getting tougher. They still got to play Green Bay. They still got to, I believe they play Minnesota this year. I'm not even sure. But if they do, they're in trouble. And this is the cons of being the Super Bowl champions. You get the best of the best because everyone wants a shot at you. Everyone wants to say, or an opportunity to be able to beat you and to say that we beat the Super Bowl champions. And the Bills were the first. The Bucks, I believe, the 49ers will be the second because the broomsticks got pulled out there, beforehand. Then you turn right back around. Here are, the Bucks and now the Cardinals all saying this. And it's just, what went on in LA that's like, I don't even know. I really don't.
Like I said, they can just go ahead and pop a squat right next to us or get their own nice couch. I'm not feeling confident in it. I'm not. I mean, love to.
You're not the only one. I actually talked to a Rams fan in a bar in Pittsburgh, and he was pretty much telling me the same thing. Like, this year is just not it for us. We're on a Super Bowl hangover. We're in the slump. Stafford's not playing as well as he's supposed to be. But the good news, actually, I don't really know the good news. I just pray that the Detroit Lions does not win this trade between them and the LA Rams down the road. That's what I pray, because the Rams, unfortunately, you could say that they can go to the draft, but this is the cons of not having enough draft picks or enough draft capital to be able to build the team back up that quick, unless, you can just draft very well, that you could just find the talent and boom, 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 and just plug everything back in, or make big free agent signings. But it's so hard to do that with a low cap space that the Rams have over the next 3 to 5 years with the salaries that they just gave, and rightfully so, because when you are the caliber players that they are, you're gonna get paid so. And I think that's what the Rams was living off right now, along with the Super Bowl hangover. Obviously, the addition of Allen Robinson was supposed to take pressure off for Cooper Kupp, and it only put more on, because apparently he's not getting open as much as he should, and his presence is not being felt as much as expected. And then you got the defense, who's possibly getting tired of worn out because they're always on the field every time you turn around. It's just straight chaos in LA. And then Cooper Kupp is now, and then it's Cooper Kupp. Now it's on IR with ankle surgery to his ankle. Like, I don't even know. Like, he's now on IR for at least 4 to 6 weeks with ankle surgery.
If you're Odell, are you peeking in like y'all miss me or not?
I honestly think they should have bought Odell back before he cleared waivers. And I'm going to tell you why. I don't think Odell would have even looked at other teams if he knew for a fact he was going to be back in LA. I think Odell wants to stay there in LA. Now, I'm not ruling out Buffalo, because like I stated on previous episodes, his bond with Von Miller, his bond with Stephon Diggs, and the fact that they need another playmaker in that receiving core, because a lot of people are now starting to tag team Stephon Diggs, starting to tag team Gabe Williams, starting to tag team McKenzie. And I think the addition of Odell in Buffalo can definitely boost that offense. And I think, that's somebody who could definitely get them back on the right track. But I don't think there's nowhere Odell would rather be than LA. I mean, LA's a beautiful place. And then obviously we've seen it on television, the stadium of SoFi, and we've seen it from pictures with other people who've been in the stadium. So we're seeing
gorgeous.
Yeah, it's so gorgeous. And then you go outside LA, it's a beautiful place. I mean, if you can afford to live there, why not? And Odell definitely can afford to live there. I think that's where he resides right now, if I'm not mistaken. It's
Even
LA.
with the cost of diapers and formula?
Yes. Even with his, See, when you make the money he make, that's not really much of a problem for you. It's really not.
It must be nice. It must be nice.
It's nice. Like, honestly, I would live in LA right now if I had the money. I'll live in LA. Like, it's so beautiful. You cannot be in LA and say that I don't have nothing to do. No, there's something to do in LA. You can just, it's a lot. You can either walk the Hollywood of Fame, Walk of Fame, or that's what you call it. You can go to Aces and Diamonds, which is a club. You can go to games all year round. They are all year round cities, all year round sports cities. So you can go to a Laker game, even though they are full right now. Or you can go agree. Or you can go to a Clipper game, which they are a little mediocre. Or you could go to a Kings game. You can go to a Dodgers game come baseball season. It's like LA just gives you things to do. It's like, or WNBA season. You can holler at an LA Sparks game.
Or just go sit out and enjoy the sun during the summer.
Yep, USC, UCLA is March Madness now. We know how the schools play, and USC college football team is doing extremely well this year. And it's just LA is a city that keeps you busy. And I think that's why the property there is so expensive, because it's like they know people are going to want to live in LA because there's always something to do. And obviously, Odell, when you have the connections that you already have chemistry with everyone on the team. Back to the sports perception here. But when you are someone like Odell, you have the chemistry that you have with someone on your team. It's going to pretty much sum it all up. It's to sum it all up, it's going to be the place you're going to want to play. I mean, who would not want to play in that stadium? Who would not want to stay with a team that you have so much success with, even with the shorter period of time that he stayed there? You're not going to want to leave. You're going to want to stick this out with them. And with the bonds that he had with everybody already there, with the Super Bowl ring, he's going to want another one. And he's going to want to run it back, which is why you can't rule out Buffalo, even with their loss to the Vikings this past Thursday, because it's like they're only another weapon away, in my opinion. So
Well,
there you have it.
I will ask this question then on Odell. Do you think, because clearly he's a talented person, but do you think he is a good locker room guy?
Honestly, yes. I think I've said this on numerous occasions. Odell got too much slander. And I think because of that slander and because of the things that was said about him, that from a mental perception, he just decided to not respond to. It was like people got the wrong perception of him. You know, nobody wants to lose. And when you come from a big school like LSU, whose culture generationally it's about winning and championships, you want to take that anywhere you go, whether it's a team in a rebuilding, reloading phase, whether it's a team that, you know, just it's only one weapon away. You're going to want to take that anywhere else you play. And that's the mentality Odell had that at that time the Giants just wasn't ready for. I don't think Odell's a cancer. And then with Cleveland is Cleveland. Like, honestly, how many people work out well in there? Because Jarvis Landry is not an issue. Why didn't he work out in there? Why did Kareem Hunt once out? Why is all this controversy still happening if Odell was the issue in Cleveland? Clearly he wasn't. It's just Odell it's a great person, a great athlete who was put in the wrong places at the wrong times when people were already frustrated, just looking for someone with a big enough name to blame. And unfortunately, Odell fell into that category. That's what I think. I don't think he was the issue in New York. I don't think he was the issue in Cleveland. I think he's a great teammate, a great locker room guy, because too many people want him on their team for him to be problematic. And these people share the same passion about winning in championships that he shares. So there's no way he could be this problem if all these people want him on their team. They want him in Kansas City. He's not ruling that out. You can't blame him. Patrick Mahomes, Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce, and them guys, they could make a good run with Odell. People want him in Buffalo with Stephon Diggs, Gabe Williams, McKenzie, Josh Allen, and them guys. Can't blame him with Von Miller, Poyer, all them boys on the defense. People want him back there with LA with Jalen Ramsey, with not Von Miller, correct me, Aaron Donald, who he has a great bond with. And then you got Cooper Kupp, you got Matthew Stafford, who already built chemistry with. These are too many teams who we looked at as legit contenders over the past 2 to 3 years who wants him here. And then we know Andy Reid's a no-nonsense person. We know Sean McVay's a cool, laid-back dude, but he's a no-nonsense person. And then you also got to look at the fact that, you know, the Bills head coach is a no-nonsense person. So these are no-nonsense people wanting him to be a part of their culture and a part of their team. So if Odell was such this problematic person, all these people wouldn't want him. So no, I don't think Odell is an issue in the locker room. I think he's a great addition, and he'll be a great addition regardless of where he lands.
And the reason I ask that is because, you know, again, until the year he was with Cleveland, the Colts in Cleveland had joint practices during training camp. And prior to that, I was kind of nervous about him being in a place like Cleveland. And I mean, I don't even see him, or I mean, at the time, didn't see him as a good fit for Indiana. Just because, you know, that's Indiana, you know, Colts fans, you can be mad at me however you want and take this however you want. But the Colts are a very conservative team. But again, prior to watching him and how he interacted at training camp, I thought Odell was this very bigger than life personality. So that's part of the reason why I think LA is perfect for him. I feel like that mentality and that lifestyle fits perfect in that area. But that kind of changed for me when I watched him at those joint practices. It took me until like very late in the first day to even notice that he was out there. He had his helmet on the whole time, was quiet the whole time. Only reason I knew it was him was because of his leg tattoos. Only reason,
Yeah.
I knew it was him.
Yeah. He does
So I
stand
mean,
out.
right. So I don't know if it was a maturity thing or just a general change in mindset that like, yo, like let me chill out. Let me just come in, do my job, and get up out of here. Which I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
if that is the case, I'm proud of him for changing my perspective and my view. But if you're not willing to take off that those blinders of he's just very larger than life, and that you're asking that same question I'm asking, is he too much for a locker room?
Well, yeah, definitely. So I just I feel like, you know, he doesn't really feel that way. I think that his mentality at that time was just he already was painted as the bad guy in one organization. I don't want to come here and have the same reputation. And I think that's why he wanted out of Cleveland, because he started to see slowly but surely where that was going. And unfortunately, wrong situation, wrong time, frustration that it wasn't popping off the way they expected, especially with the addition of him, because they know as an athlete and as a person what he brings to the table for the organization in a good way. So it's like when things don't go the way people expected, they try to find ways to blame everyone else but themselves. And I think that's what Odell was caught in, a situation with a front office, a coaching staff, and a bunch of other teammates around him who just did not have any type of accountability for themselves. And I think that's what started them crazy, obnoxious rumors that he was a cancer. No, the people around him was a cancer and had no accountability, no type of responsibility in their system to just understand and to take a glimpse in the mirror for a second and be like, okay, this can be me too. What can I do to fix it? And I ain't hear that question come out of pretty much anyone's mouth in either Cleveland or New York. And I think that's why. I think that's why everyone just like, okay, then maybe he is the problem. No, it doesn't go like that. It doesn't work like that with me. But
In Cleveland, you know what I'm about to say.
oh Lord, here we go.
While this is a Jacoby Brissett stan account every Sunday, Odell wasn't y'all's problem. Like, y'all just need to take a whole good look at the organization as a whole, because y'all are struggling.
Yeah,
Y'all,
Cleveland.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
y'all are struggling. I need,
Cleveland. Cleveland.
need the whole group. Y'all are sitting at 3-6. Granted, as you mentioned earlier, Shay, there's a number of teams sitting at 3-6, and that's all well and good that y'all aren't the only ones, but Odell was clearly not your problem. Granted, y'all
In
played
Cleveland. In
right.
Cleveland, yeah.
Y'all
I
played
think
Tua on Sunday. Granted, but 39-17, and Odell is no longer in your locker room. So what y'all
Odell
got for
won a
me?
Super Bowl. Listen, Odell won a
You
Super
feel
Bowl
me?
after he left Cleveland. Like seriously, he just he
Right.
just he just went to LA and was like, "Man, how you like me
living
now?
living his best life.
How you like me now?" That's really how he went. And it's like, yo, he really in LA. I'm like, yo, he really in LA. Like telling like all the people in the media who took Cleveland's side in that whole situation. And he went to LA. He was like, how you like me now, man? How y'all like me now? And I'm like, okay, you could definitely get that off. But moving forward, we gotta wrap this up, sis. But the
Tonight's
Eagles
game.
losing. Yeah, the Eagles losing though. Do you want to get more into that, or do you just want to move forward to week 11?
I think we can go into the Eagles' first loss of the season first, and then
Yeah.
go straight into. But I mean, quickly, my thoughts on it are, I mean, I go back to my question from a couple of weeks ago. Was it the pressure of holding on to no losses for the entire season that got to them? Like, was that what did it, or it was just they got tired?
I say it's a little bit of both, in my opinion, because when you are undefeated, all eyes are on you. When you are the only team without a loss this year, it's like, okay, who's next? Who's gonna step up? Who's gonna be the one to end the undefeated streak? It was like that with the 2007 Patriots. It was like that with the 2020 Steelers when they went on that 11-0 streak, and it's like that with the 2022 Eagles when they went on an 8-0 streak. It's when you are the only unbeaten team in the league, everyone is looking for that team to knock you off, and everyone is also looking for that team to be like, okay, who's gonna step up? Who's gonna answer the bell? Who's gonna be the ones? And 2 out of 3 of those teams I mentioned, unfortunately, the Commanders, they were the Washington football team when they ended the 11-0 streak. Now they're the Washington Commanders when they ended the 8-0 streak. And ironically, both in PA went down. Both in PA home turfs went down. I don't even want to get started on one. I don't need to go back down to that memory lane. But it's the pressure. It's the pressure being the only unbeaten team, because yes, they have eyes on all the teams, obviously, because it's the NFL. But when you are the only unbeaten team, it's just straight like, now we're going to see what y'all want to do next. We're going to see what y'all about, because now it's like, okay, is anyone else going to join that club of the 1972 Miami Dolphins? Who's going to join that club? And that's really what it is when people attempt, like the Eagles, like the Steelers, like the Patriots, to run the table without being unbeaten, and or with being unbeaten. And it's just, when you are that, and you just, it's both. It's a little bit of both, because it does get tiring with the scheduling. It does get tiring with the pressure, because I'm gonna tell you right now, take it from someone who's dealing with mental health issues right now. When you have pressure, when you're dealing with that, it creates stress. Stress can definitely create, sleepless nights, sleepless moments, and you won't have that moment to breathe because of all the pressure that's put on you. And when you are undefeated and all eyes is on you, and you're painted as the team to beat because of your record and the reason why you have that record, based off what we all seen within the games that you have played, is going to create pressure, because now it's going to be like, is this legit? Is this really going to be the team to beat? Is this really going to be the team that we're going to look at? Is this going to be the team to run the table? Are they going to run the table? All these questions come in. As an athlete and as a person, they all can play in your head, because it's like, it's like, okay, are we going to be that team? Are we that team? It's time to show the world. So, and then when you're the Eagles and you're on prime time practically almost every week, now because of that, and the teams that you're playing while you're on this undefeated streak, it's going to create pressure. But honestly, they might have needed this loss, because they may have had some flaws that you're really not going to pay much attention to, because you're winning. And that's what you play the game for at the end of the day, is to win the game. 8 weeks they went straight winning the football game in any way, shape, or form. Now that they did lose.
So what I'm hearing is the Colts just better be prepared to go to 4-6-1.
I really don't know, really, because I'm not going to make any predictions. I'm not, because like I said, any team could get beat on any Sunday, but the Eagles can easily bounce back with what we're seeing right now, based off your linebacker, your best defensive player, your captain, getting season-ending back surgery. But can the Eagles stop Jonathan Taylor? It's going to be the question. Can they stop the run? Because that's the one thing the Washington Commanders, I feel like that's the one way the Washington Commanders contained the Philadelphia Eagles, is they were able to run the football. Now, can the Eagles stop Jonathan Taylor? That's going to be the question for that game, because if not, Jonathan Taylor can possibly have a big day against Philadelphia and could come out with the win. And, the Colts defense could probably put together some couple of pieces to maintain that offense. But your secondary against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith is the biggest question mark, because AJ Brown is a grown man, and Devontae Smith is just coming into his own now that he's in a I say a caliber, a real offensive system. So now we're definitely going to see a lot, and we're going to find out a lot about the Eagles now that their first losses came. So these next 8 to 9 weeks, we're going to see who the Philadelphia Eagles truly are.
And I mean, I'll say it again. But I mean, I would love to have confidence in our offensive line, but they haven't been the same since Anthony Costanzo left. So I mean, I have concerns there as far as the protection of Jonathan Taylor. But my other concern is while personnel has changed in the last couple of weeks for the Colts, that's still a quarterback room that Nick Sirianni has been in. That's defensive team meetings that Jonathan Gannon has been in, with and without Darius Leonard. I mean, there's quite a few Colts pieces on that coaching staff in Philadelphia. Again, yes, there's been personnel changes on the sidelines and on the field, but again, you have somebody that's coached, been there for all of the Colts quarterback changes, kind of, knows that mentality of and that process. But again, you also, again, on the defensive side of the ball, know what a healthy, dominant piece that Kenny Moore II can be. What that defensive line can do when they're on top of their game. So, I mean, I feel like that's another factor that Colts fans need to think about. Again, yes, I know that there's been some changes since that group left. But again, those are Frank Reich's coaches, and how much are you really changing within 2 weeks of him leaving? But more importantly, tonight's game, the Titans and the Packers.
Yeah. We're wrapping this up, but Titans and the Packers, that's going to be a game to watch. Tennessee Titans, who I believe are 5-3 now, maybe 5-4, 6-3. Correct me. Thank you. 6-3. They did pick up a big win against Denver at home in Nashville. They are traveling back to Lambeau Field to take on Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, who just improved to, I believe, 4-6 in the season. So coming off a big win against Dallas at home, and now they got another opportunity to do it again against Tennessee, who's coming with Derrick Henry. But the question is now, what can we expect from that game? As obviously this would be one of the best Thursday night football matchups we have had. This is a matchup that I think is well needed because...
Good job, Amazon. Or is that on Amazon?
Yeah. Good job, Amazon. You actually put on a game since Cleveland and Pittsburgh that people actually give a damn to watch. It's just, I guess they swung and they hit the home run with this one, because this game to me can go either way. They both have deficiencies, I believe, but it's really gonna come down to, can Ryan Tannehill or Malik Willis outplay Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau Field? Can Derrick Henry take on the 2-on-1 handicap match that he's going to be in within the ground game with both Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon? That's really what's going to determine. And obviously defensively, they're both, to me, evenly matched, especially within the secondary. But you do got Lazard and possibly Randall Cobb if he's playing, tonight. But this game could go either way. I'm not making no predictions. I can't make a prediction because Green Bay, to me, can be a team that's better than their record. And I think it's more of a miscommunication thing with the Packers than it is anything else. Yes, you could definitely say lack of talent. Devontae Adams, names like that will always be hard to replace, not just for the Packers, but for any organization, which is why the Raiders did not mind giving up as much as they did to get him there, on top of, paying him as much as they did. But I don't know. I don't have no prediction. I'm just looking forward to the game. I'm like, bring the game on. Let's see what both teams got. Let's see if the Titans really going to be these big heavyweights in the AFC that they've been built to be over these past couple of, 2 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years. Or it's the Packers. This is going to be the turn up time in Lambeau Field. Is it time for the Packers to turn the table and continue to push? This is really when we find out. See, the one thing I love the most about November, December games is this is when we find out who teams truly are. This is going to be the time of the year where certain teams' momentum is going to go down. It's going to cost them a playoff spot. Other teams are going to show us they are who they've always been since September. We pretty much have a good idea of who those teams can be. And then other teams, it's just going to shock us and going to make a good run.
Yeah, I don't think I've got a prediction one way or another myself. But I mean, I'm looking for, more King Henry highlight reels. So I'm hoping, that as time continues, he bounces back to the Derrick Henry that we're used to watching and seeing every week. Granted, he's been in the league for a minute, and he is a key weapon for them. So it'll definitely be an interesting, journey to watch as he continues to bounce back from this injury. But like we said at the top of the show, you can't necessarily count out Aaron Rodgers quite yet.
You can't. It's just that guy can be extremely tricky. But yeah, Thursday night football, Green Bay Packers take on hosts, actually, the Tennessee Titans, the 6-3 Tennessee Titans, while they're sitting there with a 4-6 record. It's gonna be airing on Amazon Prime. So if you have Prime, you could definitely watch it at 8:15 p.m. Eastern time, 5:15 p.m. Pacific time, which will be Western time. But wrapping up this final segment, we are finally in our final segment till NFL Week 11. What games are you looking forward to the most? I think I have three off the top of my head.
Well, like I said, I mean, although I don't have much faith in my Colts this weekend, I am interested to see how week 2 goes for Jeff Saturday. So that is definitely at the top of my list. And then
of how well he can at least coach some guys up against a tough team like the Eagles.
Exactly. And I'm kind of salty, I've got to, wait and see if we are going to get booted by the Panthers and Ravens game here in Carolina. So I am assuming that I will not be able to, watch in real time my Colts this weekend, but it's fine. But I'm also interested to see how well the Texans continue to play out their season, even at 1-7-1. I want to see if the Commanders can, still ride that high of ending the undefeated streak of the Eagles. And, like we said, Chase Young is back. So I also want to see how he, transitions back into playing real time.
Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting matchups. I'm gonna start with the Bills and the Browns for that matchup because one, it's be pretty cool to see teams playing in like 6 inches or more of snow, and that's exactly what they're predicting to happen in Buffalo. Woo, good luck to both teams there. But Buffalo, they're used to it. Cleveland, not so much. But
Hey,
yeah.
Look, as much as this is a Jacoby Brissett stand account, Jacoby,
You don't have no faith.
I can't cheer for you, love. As much as I would love to.
You ain't worth the damn, Kaila.
Hey, look, I actually got asked at work over the weekend, was I a Jacoby Brissett fan or a Cleveland fan, because Jacoby is currently my lock screen. So like I said, this is a very strong Brissett stan account here, but
hey, this is a Minka Fitzpatrick stan account, so I definitely relate.
I don't know if he's got it in him. His numbers from week 10 didn't give me too much confidence in him, which I was definitely surprised by those numbers from him this week. This past week.
Yeah, it's obviously both ground games are gonna have to be huge in that game because I don't see how you can be a pass happy offense and that much snow, even if they don't extend the game. If they don't delay the game is what I would say. Put the game on delay because of the weather. But Yeah, that game I'm looking forward to, because to me, that's going to be, can the Bills bounce back at home after a Travis loss against the Vikings? Or can the Browns bounce back after a devastating loss against the Dolphins in Miami? But another game I'm looking forward to, obviously, you know where I'm going with this one. It's going to be the Steelers versus the Bengals, where I'm confident in my Steelers. I am. But I'm also nervous and excited for this game because it's AFC North football. Bengals are obviously going to be looking to get back at the Steelers. Steelers defense getting healthy, Bengals getting healthy. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Both Steelers coming out with the color rush, Bengals coming out with whatever the hell you want to call it, that zebra cake jersey, whatever, helmet, whatever. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that matchup because it's my Steelers going to turn it around, or it's the Bengals going to get back in the conversation for the AFC North title, or they're going to fall to 0-4. That game to me is going to be, to me, arguably game of the week, but obviously I got faith in my Steelers to pull it off like I had faith in the Saints last week. I'm nervous, I'm excited, but obviously you know who I'm rooting for, you know who I think is going to pull it off. I just feel like our defense alone has the Bengals number, and that's really what it's going to come down to. With or without Minkah Fitzpatrick, there will be no excuse because they don't have Jamar Chase, so arguably we won't have our best DB, they won't have their best wide receiver, so it's really going to be determined of who else can step up from both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively, for both teams, and who's going to make the plays. But yeah, and another game I'm looking forward to will be, I'll say, the Ravens and the Panthers. Carolina, even though with a big win against Atlanta in Carolina, they're still in the mix for their division. And then then you got the Ravens, who who pretty much want to keep as much leap in AFC North division as they can, especially knowing that in about another 2 to 3 weeks, they will be in Pittsburgh for game 1 of that series. And obviously you don't want to be a game or two in front of the Steelers and then lose another game and then, give them the lead. Obviously, I feel like that matchup alone is going to be the game that's one of the games is going to determine the AFC North division, because I feel like that's who the division is going to come down to. Pittsburgh and Baltimore, believe it or not, even though the Steelers record doesn't look like that, but the AFC North was pretty shaky this year. I think that keeping my Steelers around it's going to come back to haunt a lot of teams, especially with the way they're slacking off. But the Ravens, obviously, they're going to be looking. Carolina could definitely shock you because no one expected them to blow out the Bucs, and they did. But depending on where the game is, I actually don't really remember. But if it's in M&T Bank, then Baltimore's definitely going to pull it off. But if it's in Carolina, you better look out. Up in the air. But yeah, those will be my matchups. Would you like to say anything before we sign off and close out this episode?
Colts fans, don't hate me this week, and Cleveland, y'all are just gonna have to be mad at lack of faith as a Jacoby Brissett fan account.
All right, that's perfectly fine. That's all I gotta say. My precious Pittsburgh Penguins does play tonight, so let's go Pens. Yeah, I had to say that. I had to give them a shout out here, even though they kind of disappointed me Tuesday night about that pathetic loss at home against the Maple Leafs. But yes, let's go Pens. See you guys next week. This is your host Maeshaila, Kaila signing out. This has been the Mike Bomb Podcast.
Bye.
Welcome to the Mike Bomb Podcast, the podcast where the bombs get thrown. Thank you for tuning in to the latest episode. This is your host Maeshaila, exiting out. But before I do, I would like to take the time to thank everyone who has subscribed, followed, and listened to the podcast, and for your overall support and love. If you are interested in getting more news and updates about the podcast, such as new episodes, new seasons, you can now subscribe and follow the podcast on your favorite platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora Radio, Google Podcasts, and much more. Or you can visit www.themikebomb.com for news updates within your favorite sport leagues, along with more news about the podcast. Thank you for your support, and see you next episode.
This is my night, this is my and I pray, asking Lord, let him hear